Chris Onderstall, Digital Lead at Fleishman Hillard. Welcome to the Red Zone.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Now, Chris, will you let us know what the digital arm at Fleishman Hillard is and how you compete with your competitors?
Sure. At Fleishman Hillard, the cornerstone of our approach is understanding the intricacies of different platforms. And we have experts in different fields. But it means to build an integrated campaign, we need to understand what are the paid-for elements, how do we leverage earned media, what content do we produce for shared media, and how we bring a story to life on owned platforms. And it's by understanding the roles that these different platforms play together that we can build a truly integrated solution for our clients. Also, being a global agency, we have access to great resources and phenomenal talent that we tap into that make us the full-service communications agency.
Now, you've informed us that Facebook is making changes to not only its timeline but also its layout. Can you tell me a bit more about this and how it's going to affect brands that are specifically on that platform?
Sure. So, Sabrina, have you noticed that your Facebook timeline is getting full? Like maybe you're missing a bunch of updates, or are you checking it every 30 minutes or so?
Yes.
So many of us feel that there's so much content that we're missing out the best stuff. We're not seeing the updates from our friends. And Facebook has recognized the way people are engaging with the platform and changing accordingly. There's three sort of main changes. The first one is images. So we know that Facebook knows we love to stalk people on the platform and look through their photos. So they're making images much larger, and we'll see more. About half of the news feed will be images. We're also seeing the option of filtering on Facebook. So at one click, you'll be able to only view updates from your friends, or you'll only be able to see updates from your close friends. The other option is only being able to look at photos or only looking at the music that your friends are sharing and listening to. And that means that at one click, people will be able to remove the brand pages or updates, and they'll only be looking at content from their friends. The third change is that the mobile view of Facebook. So what you'll be able to see on your website or your desktop version will be a lot closer aligned and a richer experience on the mobile.
Now, that's the individual side. How is this Facebook change going to affect a brand's engagement on the platform?
So Facebook's already come under fire for how they're treating brand reach. It's already on a lowering scale. So officially, 16% of your fans will see your update. So if you have 100 fans on your page, for argument's sake, every time you make an update, about 16 of those will ever see the update. With the option of fans being able to only view updates from their friends, we could see that dramatically decrease.
And will this impact advertising at all?
Facebook has been very tight-lipped about what the impact for advertising could mean. We know that 75% of brand pages fans are actually made up from paid-for advertising, and just the nature of decreasing reach is probably going to play more into Facebook's favor, that you'd need to pay more to get a higher reach on the platform.
And what should brands be considering in light of these massive changes that are happening?
What we're telling our clients at Fleishman Hillard is that it's now more important than ever before to understand your community, to be entrenched with what their needs are, and building brand advocates. Brand advocates are the new billboard or TV commercials. If they're not sharing your message on your behalf, because people have the option of turning off your updates, there's a chance no one will see your message.
So will the brand have to go back to the drawing board and change strategy from the get-go?
There are some things that brands will need to start implementing. We know, for example, photos are more important, so it's more likely you'd implement better photography and richer images into your updates. We also know things like now you'll have the option of only viewing a music feed, so we'll see brand partnerships with music providers, and it's, again, more important to understand who your influencers are and who the people talking about you are, and have deep relationships with them.
Now, we all know digital is evolving and growing quicker than anything else we've ever experienced. Are there any other social media platforms or companies that are changing the same that Facebook has been doing?
Yeah, there's a trend for giving users more control over the content that they can see, and we've seen that on different platforms. For example, Twitter is starting to filter out. Instead of seeing every tweet, you're seeing the top tweets. And so there's an element of giving users more control over what content that they see on the platform.
How can users control their content, though? Does it happen automatically?
So Facebook has a very fancy algorithm. That's their secret ingredient on how it works. But they know things of, like, if you start hanging out with a certain friend, checking in an event, you're more likely to see that friend's engagement. And the content that you generally look at and post, they'll start filtering it. They already give you options to filter seeing more of a specific person or only updates of a person or a brand page. The changes just make it really easy. At one click, you'd only see your friends' updates, removing brands.
Now, considering that users have more control over what they see specifically on Facebook and the content that they have available to them. Do you think there's a space anymore for brands to play on Facebook?
You can't ignore 5.5 million South Africans on Facebook, and we know that some people only engage on Facebook. I have a friend who, when she wakes up in the morning, her eyes are barely open, but she's looking on her phone down her Facebook feed. And when she gets to work, she reads the news, but not via going to a news site or picking up the newspaper. She's reading headlines on Facebook, and so we know there's an absolute need, and people consume media on Facebook. We just need to be highly relevant for them.
How much harder is it for a brand to target a specific audience on a platform that, like you say, 5.5 million people?
I think it takes an understanding of what a community is. A community has a sort of a sense of a common purpose and a common needs or requirements. And if you can tap into understanding what your community needs are, you can then build a strategy around that. You can then serve content that's relevant for the community, and in that way it's highly engaging. But it does take an understanding of what your community is and how to service them.
On Twitter, I'm not sure how it works, but if I'm an influential person on Twitter, an influential brand, would a brand follow an influential person as well in order to, gain or garner something from that stream?
Yeah, if you're running a smart Twitter strategy, you'd have a list of influencers. You'd know who the top maybe 50 people you'd want to be engaged with, and you'd be having conversations with them or making sure you're following them because they're your influencers and they have higher reach. We also know that people like to identify with people, real people and personas. There's a reason Michael Jordan, CEO of F&B, has more followers than the official bank's Twitter account, because there's an identity that you can engage with. And so having authentic relationships with real people is really beneficial.
Even Aubrey Jacobs isn't necessarily real.
Even their own official account isn't actually a brand logo. It's identified as a persona to help gain traction. And that's probably why they're better off than the other banks put together on the platform as well.
Now, are there any other trends that you're seeing arising in the next couple of months?
We're seeing a continuation of gamification of anything. If you turn something into a score in a game, it's an easy tactic to get engagement. We're also seeing, where we spoke about 2 years ago, content marketing, we're now talking about utility marketing. There's enough content, and the changes in Facebook demonstrate that there's needs for a layer of filtering. And so brands being able to filter content and share content that's only the most relevant for the community is really the way that to get higher engagement. The third trend is, and it's a buzzword that's rolling around everywhere, is big data. But being able to understand and utilize and really mine the data in your organization has the ability to change strategy. We see it in the agency. We now have an analytics stream. We're hiring people with titles like planners and analytics. These are positions that didn't exist 2 years ago in a PR agency, for sure. So there's a definite trend along that line.
Thank you for your insight, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on the show.